Well, I am so honored to share this time with one of my sheroes, a woman that I hold deep respect and admiration for, Dr. Catalina Garcia, a physician, a trailblazer, a civic leader, and above all, an advocate for women. And as one of our founders of the Texas Women's Foundation, it is my absolute honor, Dr. Garcia, to share this time with you. And what I'd like to do to set the stage is to just share a little bit about your background. Born and raised in Segundo Barrio in El Paso, Texas, the oldest of 6 siblings, grandparents who immigrated from Mexico, who had such a strong belief to bring their kids into a world where they could succeed, and they held all the confidence in the world, and no doubt that you would, particularly your mother. And that took you to the University of Texas at El Paso, and from there, you were quite bold in your decision to pursue medicine at the UT Southwestern Medical School in Dallas. So I want to start there. Tell me a little bit about that experience, your decision to pursue medicine at UT Southwestern. I believe you were one of very few women, certainly one of 2 Latinas in the program in the mid-60s. So tell me about that experience and what it was like for you.
Well, I felt a great deal of otherness because I would look in the halls and the laboratories, and I didn't see anyone really who looked like me. So I was very aware of that. I came to Dallas because I interviewed both at Galveston and Dallas. Those are the only 2 medical schools I thought I could afford. And it was raining the whole time I was in Galveston, and they had all this mold on the wooden houses. It was just an otherworld experience, and so I didn't like it. So I thought, no, I'm going to go to Dallas, which is a weird way to pick a medical school, because I really should have been looking at the background of the prizes they'd won, at who they trained. No, I chose because of the weather.
There we go. Well, that's a good reason. Although Dallas can be iffy on the weather sometimes. So tell me a little bit about what it was like starting your practice, particularly as a woman, as a Latina. You started your practice in 1972. Tell us a little bit about that story and that journey.
Well, it doesn't start out real positive. I interviewed with every group at Baylor. Nobody offered me a deal. And I wanted to stay at Baylor because at that point, it was a 1,000-bed hospital. It was the biggest hospital. I thought that's the best place for somebody who's a minority to go, because the need will be there, and eventually they will use me. Yes. And then they'll see what I can do, and I'm in. And that's exactly what happened. I got a call from the only Jewish group at Baylor. I met with them. They offered me a position. I took it. And then the deal was I had to build my own practice, though. So I got dressed every morning and went and sat in the doctor's waiting room, waiting for something to happen. And one day, of course, it did. It was an emergency. Is there an anesthesiologist in the house? Yes, sir, I'm right here. I mean, everybody looked at me like, oh. Well, I went in and did the case. Boy, was I watched. Wow. But I did a decent, good job. And that was it after that. After that, I got cases.
Yeah. You felt like you had to prove yourself much more so, possibly, than some of your colleagues.
Oh, I didn't see anybody else sitting in the waiting and praying and hoping for a case.
Hoping for a case, but you waited patiently. Tell us about, you mentioned during our prep when you needed to secure insurance for your practice.
Oh.
And you had to go secure a loan. And this is going to segue a little bit into how you came to be a part of and one of the founders of the Texas Women's Foundation. But tell me about that experience that you had when you went to try to go secure a loan for your practice.
Oh, well, that was before I found this group, because they're not going to go into their insurance policy. But I thought I was going to have to open a practice by myself, which is fine, but then I needed insurance and I needed funds. So I went to the bank where I banked and asked them for a loan, and he said, we don't make loans like that. Your husband has to make the loan. I thought, what? I outright my husband and I have to get his signature?
So this was what, 1972?
One or two.
Yeah, so it was
A few
early
months
70s, right?
Yeah. A few months later, Texas legislature changed that.
Yes.
But I was in that place still where women did not get loans of that magnitude. You could have your own charge card, all kinds of things.
So your husband had to come along to co-sign for the loan at that time? And
He would have had to, yes.
He would have had to at that time. That takes me to your experience and your engagement with the Texas Women's Foundation. Tell me about that outreach. Who reached out to you to say, hey, we're putting together this collective group of women. We want to do something to create equity, economic empowerment for the women and girls in Dallas. Who made that call to you? And tell me a little bit about that experience and what influenced you to join the foundation.
Well, actually, I've been in practice about 10 years then. And I told myself when I started practice that I would give myself 10 years to build a practice, and then I would start volunteering, because I thought that was my responsibility, quite frankly. And I had started volunteering, and I ran into Jenny Whitehill. And Jenny Whitehill really encouraged me to become involved with many of the nonprofits. And one day she started talking about this, and I happened to have a friend named Dr. Suzanne on, and she was also involved, and she's the one who called me and started talking about it. And I thought, well, I already heard about this from Jenny, and absolutely, I am in. This needs to be taken care of. I believe women should have all the abilities that men have, but also the responsibilities. We cannot just have half of the cake.
Right, absolutely. I think with kind of that as your mindset, right, is yes, right, I want the opportunity, but I also have accountability, right, to pay it forward for other women and to empower other women. And that takes me a little bit to, you know, what that experience has taught you, like those early times. I'm always curious to hear stories about those first gatherings of the foundation, right? What was that like? Like when you stepped into the room and you saw other women very much accomplished like yourself, like what did you think would be the mission and purpose of the foundation in those early years?
Well, actually, I remember the first time rather well, because I opened the door and I was by myself, and here's a room full of women of all sizes, shapes, colors, religion. I thought, I hadn't gone to heaven. I couldn't believe it. That's what really got me so excited and sold on this project. All these different women wanted to work on this. Oh, I was enthused and immediately knew I had to be a part of this. That's really what I saw. I saw all these individuals seeing a need and coming together to work on it, and nobody cared, you know, what group you were from. Now, I remember Jenny especially. She wanted somebody from all the different groups. So that's why a Latina was there. That's why an African American was there, an American Indian, somebody Jewish, somebody Catholic. It was just awe-inspiring for me. And actually, I wasn't too much into finances. I didn't really have that experience. I don't come from money. And so we didn't talk about finances at the dinner table. You know, Dad ran everything because he was the one with the money. And I didn't have that kind of experience. So I learned a lot working with these women, trying to put the articles together. So I think in a lot of ways, I was mostly a listener. I know me, and I know that if I don't like something, I'll speak up. So if there was something I didn't agree with, I definitely said something.
I don't know if you know this, but I think that for many Latinas in our community, I think that you represented our voice without even knowing at the time that you were representing the voices of so many. And so, you know, I know that you are a Latina living legend in the eyes of many, but I think frankly, like the collective power of that group at that time, I don't know if they had any idea of the type of impact that you would make 40 years later, right? And so, like having that group of women together, sitting around and coming up and really creating, right, what was the framework of our foundation. And that in some ways we have moved the needle, but in some ways we have not. We have so much work to still do, but I think that there's much more awareness and much more engagement, thanks to you and the women that were sitting around the table, if you will, when you were thinking about the articles, the charter, and how this was going to work. So today, right, when I think about the foundation 40 years later, and we are at the point to have granted almost $90 million in grants. Did you ever imagine that it would grow to this size? I mean, I think about that number, and I'm a person of finance, and I'm like, wow, that's a huge impact. Did you have that vision, or did you ever think it was going to grow this big?
Well, frankly, I could not even conceptualize that amount of money, but I knew that with what was happening and all the determination and the help that we got from some of the men lawyers who were husbands to some of these women, I just knew it had to succeed. I was kind of shocked when I'd go out in public and try to talk to other women into being interested in this, and they looked at me like, no, I don't want to be a part of that. I thought, well, you're missing out. I knew it was going to be a success. I really did. The commitment in everybody's eyes when we were working on it.
Yes, yes.
And actually, we didn't sit around a table. There was a lot of floor sitting.
More comfortable. You can wear a pantsuit and be comfortable on a rug. So the luncheon is a staple event. It has been for many, many years for the foundation, one of our largest fundraisers, of course, but actually I always see it as a convening to really share and amplify our mission. So think about your first luncheon. What was the goal? How many women did you hope attend, or men and women attend? And tell me about that experience and what the outcome was for that luncheon.
Here's where you may be disappointed, but I feel rather cloudy about that, except that when I showed up and I saw all the tables, I thought, oh my gosh, I hope the tables are going to be full. I was very worried because although the room was large, it wasn't that large, but I didn't have a vision that we would be a sellout that early, you know? I really, when it comes to the finances, I think I was sort of in a dream world. I just knew what I wanted to happen.
Right. Right. You knew you wanted to fill a mission. You knew the issues you wanted to tackle, but not clarity around exactly how we're going to be able to raise money. Well, I'll tell you, that first luncheon in 1986 attracted 1,500 women and supporters and raised $50,000. First year. That's pretty spectacular.
Yes, it is.
Congratulations. There you go. One of the things that you mentioned briefly was the engagement of men. Many people don't know that there were at least 5 men on one of the initial boards. Many served as advisors. Tell us a little bit about that experience and how you recall how men stepped up and stepped in to support the foundation at that time.
What I thought was impressive was that the men were friendly to all of us, and they were really dedicated to helping us do this because they were attorneys. The attorneys that we had were really too far along and too busy to give much of their time. I was rather impressed that a woman could ask her husband, this is all about women, help me with this, and he showed and did. Yes. I had not seen that kind of cooperation between a male and a female in the past, but then I had not tried that.
One man in particularly whose name gets brought up quite a bit is Ron Mankoff.
Right.
Tell me about the role Ron played. I think he is a lawyer by background, set up the legal entity. Tell me a little bit about his engagement.
Yeah, I must tell you that at this point, I was still a workaholic.
As we are.
I worked 7 days a week, and I was really interested in my practice, so that I don't know that I can tell you that much about Ron, except all the work he did. He was always there. And his attitude, he was so positive.
Truly an advocate, right?
I'm sorry.
An advocate.
Oh, yes.
Beyond, like, I think they are the definition at that point of an advocate.
Absolutely was. And that was wonderful to see an example of in a male. I was very, very happy about that.
Yes. Well, we're moving into our 40th anniversary, as you know. We're very thrilled to honor you and all our founders. Without your vision, without those, early mornings, late nights, all the meetings, and you trying to run and build a practice, I must say that we are incredibly grateful for the vision and not really having a roadmap, because you were quite innovative in creating what is now, this amazing foundation that is, making such an impact.
But don't forget, these were very bright, talented, committed women who knew what they were about in terms of what they wanted.
Yes.
Now, the men that came in and helped us put the articles together, fix the legalese part.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so grateful for them.
Yes. Yes. I think it always starts with vision. And you women, certainly, this group of women, right, from the diverse backgrounds, diverse ideas, right? You talk about just that collective brain trust to design the vision and how we are going to fulfill the mission. And, we talk a lot about economic empowerment. You hear that word a lot, and we see the workforce. Why is it that you think the foundation at that time really leaned in to the economic empowerment and finance and kind of, how women can succeed in society and in their careers?
I think there was a need that we filled, quite frankly. I think that women who were already thinking about the future and thinking about what can be done, and knowing that only 2% of charitable contributions go to women's groups.
And by the way, that has not changed.
No.
It is still 2% today, and that is a shocking number when I hear it, and even more shocking when I say it, which goes to, if the foundation, I always get asked, what does a foundation do? I think they assume that, we, are actively engaged in direct services, but the reality is, and what I love about the role we play is, it is about empowerment, right? And awarding through our grant making to other organizations, but that it's so based and anchored into the research that we do every 2 years. And we're very intentional about how we think about, where we can, what's our place and where we can make the impact. And so, the economic sustainability continues to be a number one issue. And I always say that if we can take care of that one, we can take care of the other issues. So
absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing today. Like, you have ran twice for the board, Dallas County colleges. You've been reelected twice. I read in an article that Dr. Garcia was one of the only trustees that attended every single graduation. I think there's 6 campuses, all 6. Why is that work so important to you?
I hate it when I get emotional, because that is our future. Those young people are going to be the building of tomorrow. Without them, we're toast. I love it when people are real excited. This company gave that money for these students. Wait a minute. This company is just kind of buttering its own bread, because if it doesn't help these people who are the future, they won't have a future as a business. So I don't quite think we have it right. It's the student who really is the important one. So of course you're going to give money. If you don't, you're not very bright.
Yes. It's the investment in the future.
Yes.
And I want to take a moment to say, and I think again, as I see you, I think about my mom. And you said something to me when we were prepping. You said, my mom sent me off to school because she had 100% confidence that I was just going to show up, sign myself up, and just get going. And you did. And I think you've always led your life, and how I've always known you is one of purpose and incredibly intentional about everything you do. Like how you've built your practice, how you knew your timing of when to engage with the foundation. So you were a founder there. You also were a founder of the Dallas Summit. I don't know of how many other organizations, and the word trailblazer, I think, falls short for you, frankly. I think that you've opened so many doors for so many women. But on behalf of the foundation and as one of our founders, we are so incredibly grateful for all the work that was put in those early years to help us grow to the stage that we are today. And I feel very, very blessed, Dr. Garcia, to spend this time with you. You have lived your life with passion and purpose, and we are so grateful for that. So thank you.
Well, you're too kind. I've just lived the life I wanted. I am so satisfied with how my life went. It's just been so many exciting things that happened. I got to be where there was change, where if you didn't like something, you could work for change. I'm hoping I can still do that now.
You can absolutely do that. And living that life and embracing, I offered, can I help you, prep for this? Can I help you do this? You're like, I've got this. And I love that spirit that you still have and still want to be present, still show up and give back. And you have impacted so many lives in your practice, in your community service, in your civic work. And so we are so grateful and thankful, and we cannot celebrate the 40th without you. So I'm excited to see you on November 14th for our 40th anniversary luncheon.
Yes, we'll be there.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.